Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Dani. I am from Buenos Aires, Argentina. And today I'm going to talk about the work I did for my master's capstone project, which is titled Complexities in Citral Bycatch, the case of artisanal fisheries in northern Argentina. There. So today I'm going to take you to Argentina, which is located in the southwestern Atlantic Ocean. And I'm going to share with you about the artisanal fisheries that operate in the Buenos Aires province. So to provide some background, these artisanal fisheries represent marginalized groups that have critical roles for their coastal communities, and they contribute to food security. Their fishing activity is highly informal, and because of a low degree of control, official catch rates on target and on-target species are very incomplete. Also, these fisheries face many challenges, such as not having a proper port infrastructure, as you can get from this picture, and lacking support from the government. And despite this situation, these fisheries can be severely sanctioned if they interact with endangered marine species. In the same Argentinian waters, we have 3 littoral species that travel thousands of kilometers from their nesting grounds to feed in Argentinian waters, and Buenos Aires represents one of their annual migratory destination. But an overlap between these feeding grounds and artisanal fishing effort lead to sea turtle entanglement. And this entanglement is called incidental capture or bycatch. And bycatch represents a serious global threat for these marine animals. Sorry. Since people started noticing the bycatch of marine animals, not only sea turtles, but also dolphins in this region, biologists asked artisanal fishers to report data on bycatch numbers and locations. So for 20 years now, artisanal fishers have been reporting bycatch data, mainly framed in the dolphin conservation project. However, they also collected data on sea turtles, but there aren't until today bycatch estimations on sea turtles for this region. To share some more context, in 2010, Argentina became a member of this international treaty to protect the species of sea turtles in the American continent. And also in 2018, the Argentinian government developed an action plan for the conservation of sea turtles. So these two represent the main legal and institutional framework for to take actions in the benefits of this species. Also, I wanted to say that framed in this action plan, state agencies organized workshops where fishers were invited. And fishers took these opportunities to raise their voices and share some concerns they have around their fishing activity, but these demands were and remain unattended. So a big question that motivates this study is how can we implement a conservation strategy while attending to fishers' needs? And here is where my capstone project comes in. To better understand the dynamic of sea turtle bycatch in artisanal fisheries, to be able to work toward collaborative and integrated conservation approaches. And when I say collaborative, what I mean is to generate reciprocal engagements with these fishing communities. And by integrative, I mean to incorporate disciplines such as the social sciences. So to do this, I combined quantitative data on bycatch records from the Buenos Aires province with qualitative data on fishers' knowledge and perspective. For the first part, I analyzed bycatch records for the Buenos Aires province between 2004 and 2021 to assess a bycatch spatial distribution for this region. And before showing you the results, I wanted to highlight that these analyses were made possible thanks to the data that was collected by the artisanal fishers from Buenos Aires. So I analyzed data from 2 sites in the Buenos Aires province, one from the north and one from the south. So to start with the northern area, here we have the total bycatch distribution between 2004 and 2011, where we can see that the highest bycatch numbers are happening really near to the coast and really near to this San Clemente port, which is the one where fishers operate from. And in terms of numbers, we have a total 320 sea turtles captured, being the green turtle the mostly reported species. And also of these 320, approximately half of these sea turtles were found dead. Well, now for the specific time period between 2009 and 2012, I also estimated the fishing effort and overlapped that information with bycatch numbers. And what we can see here is that the highest, sorry for the background noise, we can see here that the highest fishing effort is not necessarily associated with the highest bycatch numbers. With the same data of fishing effort, I also estimated bycatch per unit effort in the same period. And we found here again that the highest numbers are happening near the coast and near this port that I mentioned before. And now for the southern part, for the southern area, sorry, I didn't have fishing effort information, but I did map the spatial distribution of bycatch events. And I'm gonna say that these are happening near these 2 locations, which are 2 ports where fishers operate from. In terms of numbers, we have much lower numbers here in comparison to the north. And out of these 65 sea turtles captured in total between 2005 and 2021, only 1 animal was found dead. And now to contextualize a little bit my findings, I gathered some information from other studies from the same region. And I know we have a lot of information here, but I just wanted to mention that I standardized bycatch events by year. And in comparison to other regions, I would say roughly, very roughly, that for the northern area, we have in Buenos Aires, moderate to high bycatch numbers. And for the southern area, we have low or low to moderate bycatch numbers. For the second part, I wanted to validate and contextualize the quantitative data. So I conducted unstructured fieldwork interviews along the Buenos Aires coast. I used a very flexible interview guide that allowed me to have conversations outside of the scope of that interview guide. I visited fishers more than once. And right now, I wanted to share with you 3 main topics that I discussed with them. One of them is fishers' perceptions around bycatch, their participations in previous conservation practices, and emergent topics that came up that I knew I wanted to register from the very beginning of the study. For this case, in this case, I visited 3 sites in the Buenos Aires coast, 2 in the north and 1 in the south. These 3 sites have some differences in terms of how fishers operate, as you might get from these pictures. And they also have some differences in the type of fishing gear that they use. And now to share some of the results of my interviews, I included some quotes that reflect what fishers shared with me. So for this first topic, which is perceptions around bycatch, the general sense is that it is time consuming to catch sea turtles. It is damaging fishing gear, particularly for the northern fisheries. And they said that they don't want to have sea turtles or dolphins in their nets. And they also expressed that they don't see an easy solution to reduce the bycatch of sea turtles in this region. For the second topic, that is participation in conservation practices, I'm going to talk again about this action plan and workshops that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, because fishers share that those conservation action plans and those workshops are not leading anywhere, and that are very focused on the endangered marine animals, and their demands, the fishers' demands, are being overlooked. They also said that researchers, biologists, and state agencies work from their offices, meaning that conservation actions are being implemented based on theory and not on practice. And finally, for the emergent topics, I did some analytic coding to organize the information by themes. And I'm going to start with this quote that says, "The lions make you cry." And this is particularly important because it represents a big economic loss for fishers. And we biologists are always talking to them about endangered sea turtles and endangered endemic dolphins, but these animals, the sea lions, also represent a major problem for them. I also going to share that they said that they don't receive support from the government or from fishing cooperatives, and that illegal fishing is one of the problems that they also have. Okay, so after all the information that I shared with you up to now, the big question is how we can facilitate a reciprocal engagement with fishing communities. And for this, the very first steps that I did was to develop 3 written products. The first one is a scientific paper to inform my findings, and it has the uniqueness of combining my interview results with the quantitative data as a way to integrate the natural and the social sciences. Secondly, I wrote a reflective essay to share my fieldwork experience, which honestly was a transformational process for me. And in this essay, I share some things that I learned from the field. And some of those are that I learned to appreciate just to be there, just to listen, just to share experiences, and to be quiet. And for future engagements, what I wanted to share, and also I included in the reflective essay, is that we as researchers need to find ways to generate reciprocal exchanges and not be just an extractive force of information that is always asking and never giving. Finally, I also wrote a policy brief to elevate fishers' voices to policymakers and highlight that their concerns are being overlooked. Finally, other actions and next steps. I had the opportunity to share my project at this World Small-Scale Fisheries Conference in Mexico, and also at the National Institute for Fisheries Research and Development in Buenos Aires. And the big next step is that I'm going to present a project along with my partner to work with artisanal fishers or fisheries from a much broader approach, trying to incorporate the socio-ecological system framework. And now I want to thank my amazing project team, Anne and Sarah from the CSP program, and my amazing advisors and partners, Elena, Katie, Vicky, Ifer. I also wanted to thank all the people that contributed to this project and my funders, and a special thanks to my beautiful and amazing cohort. And with that, I am happy to take any questions.